All right, so today we've got a special episode. We're joined by Sam Dorer, the CEO of Echo, and their project has been killing it recently. They've raised over $2.6 million. They have their launch set for May 15th, and they're in their last stages of the public sale. So I'm really excited to be joined with Sam Dorer, the CEO of Echo. Thank you so much for joining us. How are you?
Hi, Mike. Thanks for having me on. Really appreciate it.
Of course. How have you guys been doing? I've been seeing you guys have been raising a lot of money. They've had a lot of major developments recently. The market's doing a bit better. Looks like things are lining up perfect for you guys.
Good timing, yeah. It's working out well. We had that little dip going on, and I think the timing should be good for May 15th. So
perfect.
We pushed past the 100K Bitcoin. That'd be good timing. So.
Exactly. So let's rewind a second before we get into what's going on, like specific details of the projects. I really want to know exactly about Echo and like the origins of it. So like what was like the light bulb moment that like led you guys to the creation of Echo, and really like how did you even get the name? Because it's a really cool name. I love your guys' website. I love the white paper, what you guys are doing. Like how did you guys come up with Echo, and really where did it start from?
Okay, I'll take it from the top then, Michael. So
yeah.
We last bull run, I had made some money independently in some of the altcoins at the time, and I was looking around at not necessarily cashing out into banks, but looking at diversifying some of that portfolio so I wasn't a total degen, and moving them into some securities and some other bits and pieces. And I kind of, there's a twofold thing where at the time it was very, very difficult to take out your winnings, so to speak, into the standard financial system. And also it was difficult to turn your winnings into something other than cryptocurrency, at least as an asset class. So I had this light bulb moment, I suppose you'd say, as you mentioned. And for me, I thought, what if there was an ecosystem where you didn't actually have to leave? What if we created an environment which had the cryptocurrency trading, which had, at the time, real world assets weren't a thing either, remember, back in before, and not popular like they are now. Where we had real world asset tokenized securities, where we had bank rails attached, all in this single environment where you can come and not have to leave. And it was this kind of, I wanted to create an ecosystem which is Apple-esque. And what I mean by that is a set of products which talk to each other, they work, you don't have to come and go between different products, you don't have to get different things talking and making sure they work and doing the flows. You just know that Apple product talks to that Apple product, etc. I wanted to create a similar setup, but with these financial instruments. So that's where it started. And to go back to your second question, so then Echo, at the time, and we still will be going this direction, we wanted to coin a term for real world assets, because at the time, it wasn't really a term. So we had this concept of calling them echoes, because it's like a copy or an echo of the security. So you would have an echo. You would have an echo.
Oh, that makes sense.
Stock, or an echo of a whatever. So that was where the name came from originally.
Very cool.
And it's kind of stuck, really. So yeah.
Really cool. Yeah, I was thinking about it because it's such a cool name, and I love that story behind it. So, for some people who maybe don't know a little bit of information about Echo and what you guys are doing, we briefly touched on it as it's like an entire ecosystem, but I know some people, I've seen comments, I've seen people talk on like X, how like, I think mainly people might think it's like a centralized exchange, but does it really have, like, what are the core components of the ecosystem, like what it is now and really what the vision is long term, like for someone who has no idea at all about Echo, because the story is great, but ultimately long term, it has to be able to have some utility or some sort of meaning to really succeed, at least in my opinion.
So Echo is a licensed virtual asset service provider based out of the Isle of Man. So it's already licensed. I mean, technically you can't be regulated for cryptocurrency activity.
Right.
They're not securities. So it's a license as opposed to regulated, but it's as close as you can get. So that's for both the custody and exchange of digital assets. So that's all in hand. I will say this, philosophically, I am entirely aligned with a decentralized thing and
Hmm.
the heart of what blockchain is supposed to be. But for me, because Echo is building out this wider, longer pathway ecosystem, the logical
Right.
way to build this tower is a block at a time, and the first block in this has to be a centralized block. And the reason it has to be centralized is mostly to do with the custody of assets. So yes, you can do synthetic assets and things like that, and they have been done. But if you want to do a truly stable coin equivalent, shall we say, where there is
Right.
a one-to-one backing on custody assets, then you kind of have to come in through the
Exactly.
regulated route. But right now, what we're offering is we'll launch with the Echo token, which we can go into, and we'll also be launching with a centralized exchange. Um, that centralized exchange is split into sort of two types of exchange. You do see this in other exchanges too, like Coinbase obviously has Coinbase and Coinbase Pro, and in some
Hmm.
ways it's a similar distinction which we have. Our standard Echo X, it's called, which is the normal version, I suppose you'd say.
Hmm.
That is technically a quoting engine,
Okay.
which is tied into very deep liquid. So you won't have this standard problem which you often get with new exchanges, where if you get this chicken and egg scenario where you need users there to have people trading, but no one wants to
Exactly.
be a user because there's no one to
Exactly.
trade into. So you get this problem, but thankfully we've solved this through some of our strong liquidity partners, and also some very exciting. I can't give away the family jewels too much on the matching engine, but we have some very, very cool ways of doing what's called a market making matrix,
Okay.
which is a very novel way of using algorithmic bots to create like a deep volume in B-book.
Hmm.
So some of the traders who listen to that might understand a little bit about why I'm up to, but
Yeah, so it sounds like you guys are taking some of the best aspects of decentralization, trying to combine that with centralization so then you can like really expand long term, grow, like get into more countries, not have to worry about any sort of regulators. So do you see it more as like a crypto native sort of platform or more based in the traditional sense? Like to me it seems like it's decentralized and you're just trying to take in the best aspects. Is that how you would sort of say?
yeah, I think it's a really interesting distinction to make, and maybe a wider question around
Okay.
where cryptocurrency assets sit more generally. I
Hmm.
think, in terms of if it's decentralized or not, the product as it currently sits is not, but the intention is to move in that direction. But
Got
certain
it.
things have to be in place first,
For
is
that
the
to
distinction I
happen.
would make. And
Hmm.
it's I know sometimes it's difficult in these scenarios because people get very philosophically fired up about this stuff.
Hmm.
But I have a certain sense of pragmatism here in,
Hmm.
what's really important is it getting to the finish line where we actually want to get to, or is it holding a bit too firm to an ideology and kind of just digging yourself into a trench a
Yeah.
little bit? So yeah,
Yeah. And so you also like mentioned, I think you said it once. You said like Echo X, and that's like one version, and there's like Echo Pro. So can you like break down the difference of exactly what those are? Like for me, it would seem like one is more, more advanced features and more utility for traders. But like what's the difference between those? And also, how would you compare your platform to let's say something like a Coinbase or a Bybit? Like what are like the main differences, I guess. So I know there's a lot of questions there, but let's start off with the Echo
no,
X
that's fine.
versus Echo
That's
Pro,
fine.
and then the difference after.
Yeah, so Echo X will release first, and then
Hmm.
Echo Pro will release very soon. We're talking like uh, 3 months or so afterwards. We're talking
Oh,
very
okay.
soon after. Echo X, like I said, is a quoting engine,
Okay.
which is retrieving from a book,
Okay.
whereas and the idea is really like the it's for people who aren't super interested in the charting. They just want to swap some stuff out,
Hmm.
or people who don't necessarily need a very sophisticated um, trading setup, let's say.
Right.
And that is actually, people don't like it, but that's the vast majority of
Exactly.
retail clients is
Yep.
actually what they're after. And that doesn't mean that the fees are higher, because that is the
Hmm.
case on Coinbase, for example.
Right.
Coinbase and Coinbase Pro have different pricing, whereas ours is the same,
Okay.
which is actually 0.1%, which is actually a
Okay.
very competitive fee rate, at least from my understanding, looking around. I think it's a competitive fee rate.
Definitely.
You
I
might
agree.
disagree.
No, no,
um,
Coinbase, especially Coinbase, if you have the standard one, and I've had experience with this in the past with friends and people who tell me Coinbase, if you have standard, fees can be crazy. They add up
yeah,
really quickly.
yeah. And then the Echo Pro, that has a full matching engine, and I won't give too much of the technical details, but I'll say that it's the architect. It's been architected in such a way to be able to deal with high frequency algorithmic trading bots. To give you
Hmm.
an idea of
Okay.
like the TPS on there. So it's fast is the answer. It's also entirely custom built too, which is unusual because it's more
Hmm.
common nowadays for new exchanges to white label stuff. They'll buy in a cookie cutter package,
Hmm.
put put the logo on it and call it an
Yeah.
exchange. But this is a little bit different to
Exactly. Yeah.
that. But
Yeah.
yeah, the Echo Pro will have all of your will have the features which professional traders are used to,
Okay.
and that's also at the institutional level, not just the professional trader level too. So there'll be API bolts and all kinds of
Hmm.
ways for people to access it via the existing trading frameworks and stuff like that that some of the bigger boys use. So, yeah.
Yeah. And that's pretty tough to get involved in, but it seems like you guys have found a way to get and like directly compete almost with those big players without having to have all these like so much more time and so many more users. Like you found a unique way to get all those advanced features without having to have all of that like all of those years and years of building. Like you guys have been able to find a way to do it quickly, which I think people would appreciate, being able to like do things faster and not have to have all of those,
Yeah.
you know,
But you
hurdles in
see, you see,
place.
you see, you see it with like some of the AI stuff which is coming out now, right? Where really what we're talking about here is we're talking about legacy systems versus building something from the ground up. And if you're
Right.
dealing with like a legacy structure, it's a hell of a lot more difficult to like pull things out and put them back in rather than just build it how it should be built
Right.
straight from the ground. Which
Exactly.
sounds crazy, but actually is the way it works.
Yeah. Yeah. And so let's switch gears. Let's talk a little bit about like tokenomics, key things. Because on your website, one of the things that really drew my attention was like the revenue sharing, like the 50%
Yeah.
of all exchange revenue to token holders. So I want to know like a little bit how that works and just specific things with tokenomics that maybe I don't even know about or see, but things that really stand out to you. Because to me, I always like the rewarding holders and the revenue,
Yeah.
like sharing that. I think that's a major benefit for the token long term. I think it helps, with engagement of the platform long term. But can you talk a little bit about what maybe you think are the most important, most distinctive aspects of tokenomics and just with that revenue sharing as well?
Yeah, sure, of course. So Echo token is fixed cap, first of all.
Okay.
So we don't mint more token. Once it's minted, it's minted,
Yep.
which obviously everyone likes. It's
Yep.
also a deflation. It's also a deflationary token.
Okay.
So touching on the volume running through the exchange. So the way it works is that volume which runs through the exchange, there's a fee
Hmm.
taken on that, standard exchange procedure. That fee which is taken is cut in half, and
Hmm.
half of it is given to token holders proportionally. So that's
Okay.
the 50% share,
Yep.
and that's top line as well. So
Oh,
you don't
wow.
have this issue of kind of us cooking the books so that you don't get what you're supposed to
Yep.
get and all that
Yep.
kind of stuff. So 50% top line, and then 10% is buyback and burn. All of this is on a
Okay.
daily basis as well.
Oh,
So this runs daily. So if you are an Echo token holder, Michael,
right.
you would see in your account, if you're holding Echo token, you would see USDC stablecoin, not more Echo
Oh,
token, not your Echo token, be deposited into your wallet
Oh,
on a
wow.
daily basis. And that's based on what the daily volume has been,
Volume.
and therefore the fee collected, and then your slice. So that's the way it functions.
That's pretty impressive. I mean, I don't know too many exchanges who do that. I don't know. It's a
Yeah,
pretty unique feature.
we've had a look around. I think there's two main benefits here. One main benefit is, of course, to the Echo token holder,
Right.
which is that, well, it's a yield, a real yield
Right.
generating token, which is great because that means by definition it should have a floor price. It
Right.
should, because there's a minimum. If you're taking USDC off the thing, there should be a floor price, whatever that ends up
Right.
being. And so it's not going to go to zero by definition. Very pessimistic of me. I think it's going to go the other direction, of course, but
Right.
pessimistic of them. And the second thing as well is that it's the basis of market making. So the people who actually, when you're a market maker for an exchange, you're providing volume or liquid into an exchange, so you get that nice deep liquid for people to trade into. Having this fee kickback directly in the token, I think will attract or really attract a lot of big market making players to the platform.
And I don't see why someone wouldn't trade there if
Well,
they're going
that's
to be
it.
getting money back for already trading. Like as long as it
Yeah,
has all
and the
the
really
features that they would already
yeah, and
do.
the really fun thing as well, Mike, of course, is that it kind of has like a sort of inbuilt affiliate thing too, because like you're also you want your friends to trade on it too, right?
Yep.
Because
I was going to say that.
you vicariously benefit from, right? Even if it's not like and it stops it being quite so scammy feeling with the affiliate thing, because it's more of like we all just generally benefit as a
Right.
community as well. So
Yeah, because like I was
I
gonna
think
say,
it's
the
just
only time I've seen that with me is like when I use like an affiliate link for another platform, then I get like a stable coin
yeah,
deposited every day in my account, but that's only because someone used a specific
yeah,
link that I
yeah,
shared. And that's very different than this, where it's like everyone benefits as more people
yeah,
use it. So that's I
yeah.
think is
And
really cool.
the really nice thing for retail clients, so I keep calling them retail, for retail client is you also benefit from institutional adoption of Echo too. If
Right.
institutional adoption comes in and we start seeing massive flow rolling into Echo, if you're a retail customer, you're going to benefit from that coming through into the exchange as well. You're not cut off. It's not because there's a very us and them thing, I think, in cryptocurrency generally, where you have this kind of, the VC crowd or the institutions, take all the pre-sale and all that kind of rhetoric. And this is a nice way, I think, of putting that together a little bit back into a more community feel where, if the VCs and the institutions do come in and want to play, then you're going to benefit from that. So.
Right. Right. And so like for me, that's something that is so unique because the pre-sale and like this public sale, like, it's a public sale now, but getting involved early seems like, in my opinion, the best opportunity, not just from token appreciation to make money, but like long term with that revenue distribution and exchange revenue, obviously getting involved something so early before the token appreciates in value, fingers crossed and everything does well, like you're still going to be getting more of the revenue from the actual platform. So that's like a huge benefit, in my opinion, of the getting involved if there's still even room left in the public
Yeah.
sale, depending on you guys are selling out quickly.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. There does seem to be a lot of. I think people are looking forward to it. I think it. I like to think that Echo represents a maturity in the cryptocurrency market too. It
yeah,
represents a move into something new, and my hope is a better way of doing exchange systems too.
right.
I want to create. I want to, like I was going back to the very start. I want to create this ecosystem type environment, which is exchange, brokerage, custody, all in this singular place.
Hmm.
So you can come, not have to leave. You can take your real yield based on volume running through the platform, and and do what you were previously doing, but over here,
Right,
basically.
right. Yeah, I think that's really unique. So, like, what are the big plans for Echo moving forward. So you have your launch set for May 15th. That's
Yeah,
obviously the big one. But like
yeah,
moving forward, like, that's going to happen. It's going to pass. Like, what are the big plans for this year outside of the launch, which is obviously massive, but what can
yeah,
people expect?
yeah. So Echo Pro will come out beginning of hopefully beginning of Q4,
Hmm.
and then there'll also be there'll be a lot of bots and stuff like that, but internal to the platform, like one click
Hmm.
use type bots. So people who want to participate in trading but don't necessarily want to sit there and look at a chart all day,
Or maybe
there's
they're
some
not as
options
good.
available. Or maybe they're not as good. Then we'll produce some bot opportunities and also a build a bot type model.
Hmm.
We're doing a lot of stuff in the back too to allow wealth managers and institutions
Hmm.
um, a nice administrative panel for them to manage client
Hmm.
funds into the exchange as well. So I know boring for people, but it all ties back into that volume piece of the
Right.
exchange. And then we'll be moving in once we have our brokerage license. We'll be moving into the tokenization of securities. We'll
Okay.
be moving into commodity bridges, so buy burn commodity bridges.
Hmm.
We'll be moving into REITs or REITs, real estate
Hmm. Yeah.
investment trusts, tokenized, and on it goes. There'll be cards. I'm imagining we're in discussions with Visa Mastercard to get that stuff in place as well. So
Right.
that could be good. And virtual IBANs are coming too. So
Oh,
there'll
wow.
be a way to have effectively neobank rails attached to the platform. So that's the
There's a
roadmap and the
lot.
pathway. And that's it. It's a big project and it's a difficult thing to talk about because there is a lot and it's taking the thing one step at a time, one block of the tower at a time, and building the thing nice and secure and stable to make sure that we build it to the sky. Basically, that's the plan.
That's the plan. Yeah. So final two questions. I don't really want to take up too much of your time,
That's it.
but so first one is a bit of an oddball, but so what keeps you up at night as like a founder in the crypto space? Because obviously there's a lot of stress and there's a lot of things going on that outside the control, but like what keeps you up at night as a founder building in the Web3 in the crypto space? Like what do you really, really enjoy about the space? What are you excited about? Maybe what stresses you out? Like all of that.
Yeah, I think for me the most, and it's not as bad as it was, but there was a period when the regulatory side of stuff was rough.
Hmm.
And I think anyone who's on my side of the fence in cryptocurrency would echo that. I think that there was times when it was difficult. That's improving now.
Yeah,
There's all the standard business stuff, running a company
of course.
and all of those sort of things, which any entrepreneur would deal with, I
Right.
suppose. There's some unreasonable fears, Bitcoin goes to zero, or things like that, which occasionally
When
you get
things
the
are going
dark
bad, it
thoughts.
feels like everything's bad, but
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Um, but I think in general, I really love working in the space. I think the people in it are great too,
Yeah.
and are very personable generally. There's a there's nowhere else where I was at some conferences in London and stuff like that with some of the big institutional funds like JP Morgan and stuff like that, and in the
Hmm.
same room as them, you also have like absolute degen,
Yep.
cryptocurrency investors and stuff like that, and there's so many places where you get that intersection happening like that. So that's quite fun as well.
Yeah. And then so last one before we go. So what's like one of your boldest, biggest predictions for crypto in 2025, 2026? What do you think is going to happen? Because every day things are changing. But where do you see
Mm-hmm.
crypto, let's say, end of 2026, like a year and a half from
Yeah.
now?
I'd be really, really interested to see if, and I'm too busy to do it, but I'm sure someone will do it. I'm really interested to see if people take the AI agents and attach blockchain rails to them so that
Mm-hmm.
there's AI agent to AI agent interaction
Hmm.
with with
Hmm.
with transfer payment between via chain. Because I think we're I know some of the big guys at Google and stuff are talking about the death of SaaS and the idea of, UI as we currently know it, just becoming AI agents talking to each other over the internet.
Right.
And if that does happen, then it's the only way to do trustless payment is going to be blockchain
Right.
between agents. So, but that's a very bold prediction. But you asked for one.
I asked for bold. So, but thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate. I think everyone watching is going to be really excited about Echo, crypto in general, like what's going on with AI agents potentially after what you're talking
Yeah,
about. Do you have anything
yeah.
else that you'd like to share before we sign off for today?
Only just to remind people of the date, May 15th.
Maybe.
And even if you do miss out, then it will be publicly available on Echo as a trading pair. So
Okay.
just so even after the pre-sale is gone, don't disappear. Do sign up, log in, and look at some of the other features and stuff which are coming out because you're still going to be early. So don't worry.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it, Sam.